Hey guys, I hope you're well. My name is Blakemore. I teach, travel and sometimes triumph. And this is going to be a sort of teachy, triumphy type of video. If it's a bit echoey and a little bit empty in here, I do apologise. I'm going through a bit of a transition period in my life at the moment where, sort of doing some sorts of moves and bits and pieces like that. So on the sort of topic of moving, I thought it would be an ideal time to sort of talk about myself and my sort of transition through school. Recently on a YouTube video, somebody asked me what my teacher journey was, and I was a little bit confused by that comment initially, but essentially what that means is how and why did I become a primary school teacher. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. So for those of you that are new to my channel and wondering who this guy is on your screen, my name is Blakemore. I am a primary school teacher in Dubai. I used to teach in the UK, and yeah, I make a range of teaching and traveling videos. So what I want to do in this video is sort of break down how I became a primary school teacher right the way back from the very, very start as to when I sort of thought I wanted to be a primary school teacher. And yeah, because I think my journey into primary school teaching is a little bit different to most people's. When I started primary school teaching, I felt like a little bit of a, I suppose the word's imposter. Imposter syndrome is quite big within primary school teaching, people who feel like they don't belong as a teacher. For me, it was because everyone within school had always wanted to be in a teacher. Maybe not everyone, but everyone that I met had said they had this childhood dream where they saw a teacher in year 4 and thought, I want to be that. Or ever since an early age of being in year 2, they always used to take the register, and from then they knew they wanted to be a teacher. That wasn't me, basically. And if you had told me when I was in year 6 and year 11, Thomas, you're going to be a primary school teacher, I'd have laughed and said, no, I'm not. Yeah, here I am as a primary school teacher. So right from the start, my mum is a teacher. She's a music teacher. And as a result, I saw the long hours that she put in as a music teacher and was immediately sort of turned up to the idea of being a teacher. I started teaching generally as a swimming teacher. So I was a swimming teacher at the age of 14. I did swimming for a long time during my childhood, and as I came towards the end of swimming and the sort of later teens, the age of 14 to be specific, I decided that it would be a great idea to give back to all of those children who want to swim. I thought it would also be a really good way of thanking the coaches for spending their time, because they were all volunteers too. So I volunteered as a swimming teacher, and I had a range of different personality traits that sort of fit the role of being, I suppose, a decent teacher in some ways. I was quite charismatic, I was outgoing, I could really relate to the children and connect with them. So I did enjoy it, and as a result, I was a swimming teacher right until the age of, well, I'm still qualified now. I eventually got my qualification, yeah, I'm still qualified and still do little bits of swimming teaching on the side. But that's not how I became a teacher. The reason I became a teacher was sort of later on in life. Now, I left year 11 of secondary school and then went straight into college. Now, during that time, I didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do. I sort of had little ideas in my head of what I wanted to do, but no real clue. I thought I just wanted a job where I can help people and where there was a sort of good career progression. Let me say that again, a good career progression. So I went into college and I just picked GCSEs I thought I'd enjoy. So I picked music, what else did I pick? Music technology, and I picked physics, and then I picked ICT. I didn't really have a clue, I sort of just picked these A-levels and just thought, right, that'll do. I didn't enjoy them. My predicted grades were really low, and I was like, oh, this has not been the right choice for me. In the back of my head, I thought about armed services. So at the time, I say at the time because my fitness is not good at all. At the time I'd done, Marines fitness tests. There was like a volunteer day type thing, and I'd done really well in this Marines fitness test. And I decided then that the Marines would be really good for me. So I joined a public services course. I suppose you call, not dropped out of college, but sort of transferred to a different college and chose BTEC. Subsidiary diploma, I think it was called, in public services. And there I was, really trying hard for the armed services. And then I discovered the whole asthma medical history, and as a result, that wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to be a person within the armed services. So then I looked at other options, and I really liked the idea of going into the police. So I became a police cadet. There was quite a tough recruitment process to become this police cadet. There was like a 16 to 18-year-old program. I'm trying to find pictures of me in the police cadets, but I had this like horrible bowl haircut, and yeah, that was major cringe. But yeah, joined the police cadets, and whilst in the police cadets and sort of going out on the community service type things, I realised it really wasn't for me. And as I was on the sort of community service type things, you know, you get a lot of people shouting things at you and sort of just loads of attention for the wrong reasons, basically, even though I was simply doing a volunteer role at like a school fair. I know, quite crazy. So I saw the amount of rubbish, basically, that the police sort of have to go through, and at the same time there was no sort of recruitment process going on. It was hard to get into the police. It was really tough at that time. So I was sort of a bit like, that's not for me. But again, I just wanted to be in a job where it was worthwhile, rewarding, and help people. So then I looked into things like nursing, and I finished my year of doing public services and then converted over to a health and social course. And I did health and social for 2 years, and it was this extended diploma in health and social, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go into nursing. So I was going through these nursing units and modules, sort of understanding about how to care for people, and at the same time of doing all this during college, I was still doing my swimming teaching as a bit of a part-time job. And I was in the whole nursing thing, and then I decided, for whatever reason, that nursing wasn't for me, and I was going to be what was it called now? It's called this is how much I wanted to be it. It was to do with surgery, like a surgery assistant, basically, that you had to go to university to do the degree, but it was basically to do with becoming a surgery assistant. And I thought, yeah, that'll be good. So I had my heart set on that. There's a bit of a theme going on of switching between jobs. I realised that. So I decided I'm going to be this surgery assistant. And it wasn't until I started typing out my personal statement for becoming a surgery assistant and doing that sort of degree, I realised I actually didn't have a clue what that job involved. And that's when I sort of had a bit of a, not a breakdown, but just sort of a moment where I was like, what do I even want? What is it I really want to do within my life? And I had this sort of thought process for months. I think we put a lot of pressure on young people to have a really good idea of what they want to do as a career straight away, and I definitely felt that pressure. Realistically now, it would have been great for me to have a couple of years of finding out what I want to do, travel, all that sort of business, but I still felt like there was this pressure in my head to get this job right. And it wasn't until I had a discussion with one of the parents of the children that I was sort of doing swimming teaching for, and I don't know how the topic came about, but I started talking to this individual about, you know, my ideas of careers and things like that, and they just happened to be a primary school teacher, and they said, you know what, primary school teaching, I was speaking about how I'd like to travel in the future and things like that. They said, so I'm a primary school teacher, and yeah, why don't you look into it? And I thought, I never really thought about it. Now obviously those childhood visions of never being a primary school teacher by now had sort of faded, and I was kind of open to the idea, having done teaching for quite a while. So I went into a school for a little bit. I went into a school for a couple of weeks just to see, do I even like it? In fact, I made it part of one of my work experiences within my BTEC course, and I loved it. I loved the rewarding feeling straight away of getting into school, and the children absolutely just looking up to you and being able to have such an impact on children, even though I wasn't really teaching. It's fantastic building relationships with children, and you know, compared to what I was doing with the whole police thing, not getting that sort of stick, if you like, from members of the public, and that real respect was there, and I just started to build this whole, this is kind of what I wanted to do. So about a month in, I went to my personal tutor at the time and was like, I know what I want to do. So eventually I sat down and I started to look at degree programs. Now, fortunately, I'd done really well at the whole BTEC extended diploma. Like, I think Looking back, it was quite a straightforward course in terms of the way that work things were going. I ended up getting, three distinction stars basically, which converted for some reason to triple AA or A star, loads of A's basically, even though the course was quite straightforward. So in some ways I feel like I cheated, but that opened up lots of different avenues in terms of UCAS points. So then I was able to start to look at a range of different universities, and I looked at Edge Hill University, Birmingham City Universities, Chester, lots of different universities by me. Of those universities, Edge Hill University caught my eye the most. I really enjoyed Edge Hill University actually, looking back on it. So I went through university, and I think my university experience, I'm gonna hold that for another video, another waffle video where I just come and sit down to you guys. And yeah, my university experience, it was really good. And obviously I went through my first year, a little bit of teaching, second year, a bit more teaching, and then third year, where I was sort of teaching quite a bit, and sort of got my job from one of the schools that I'd worked at through sort of, it's not work experience, placement. One of my placement schools basically offered me a job. So I was really lucky in the way that sort of came about, and yeah, went with that. And that school, to this day, I still hold very, very high regard for that school. It was fantastic. And yeah, so university, I'll make a whole video on that at some point, my university experience and the sort of topics and stuff that I studied, how it went, how the study was, because there were difficult parts and there were slightly easier parts. I think that would be a good video. So I started my first year of teaching, and it's funny, at the start of the video I said I was never going to be a teacher, and there I was. On the first day, deer in headlights, didn't really have a clue what was going on. I just sort of like stood there in front of this class, and I realised how different that is to what I said I wouldn't be as a child. So, primary school teacher, and the first year was by far one of my toughest years of teaching. I had 34 children in my class, and there was a few children within that class who had very specific needs, and I had to learn quick. I hadn't been with year 5, 6 before. Up until that point, I'd only taught year 4, so it was quite difficult straight away to just jump in and need to learn the subject knowledge, and needed to sort of understand how their attitudes were different to some of the younger children that I'd previously taught. It was just a little bit of a jump. But I coped with it, that was a really good year, and then there was second year of teaching. I was really lucky, I sort of followed the year 5s coming up. It wasn't the same class, we sort of switched classes around, but then I had the year 6 class. And again, that was a huge learning curve because of SATs. There were obviously learning curves in terms of transition to year 7. I made a video on that actually, I think, maybe link that above. And then it was just quite tricky because although I thought I had a really good subject knowledge in my head, suddenly there was words coming up like conjunctive adverbs because semicolons can be added before them, and then we had a range of different things. What's it called? Like subjunctive form. What is that? Those sorts of words came up, and I was just like, whoa, what's going on? And I struggled a little bit with the subject knowledge for English specifically, but eventually overcame that, and that year was a very, very rewarding year. Now, the reason I left the UK, that again is going to be a very different video. I think that's important for me to sort of explain on a different video and sort of doesn't fit the theme of this video. But I did eventually choose to leave the UK. It had nothing to do with my school that I was at the moment. I was very happy at that school, and in fact I said to my head, if I could move my school that I was at in the UK to Dubai, I would have done that, but obviously that's not possible. So I decided, right, I'd really like to move to Dubai. Obviously during my year 6 year, I looked at a range of jobs in Dubai, and I always had this goal of working somewhere like this. And for the last couple of years, I have worked here in Dubai. And it's been absolutely fantastic. You know, I feel like I have a real good work-life balance here, and that's really, really good. And the life that I do lead here is a lot more suited towards my sort of outgoing, sporadic mindset. So, what a waffle video this has been. I guarantee there is probably a range of different questions that you guys have from my just sit down and talk to you guys about me becoming a primary school teacher. And by all means, use the comments down below to ask a range of questions. I always get back to all the questions that you guys ask me. That's something that's really, really good. So hopefully, yeah, I'll be able to answer some of those for you guys. Now, in terms of whether or not I'm going to continue primary school teaching for my whole life, I don't know. I never thought I'd even become a primary school teacher in the first place. So me being a primary school teacher now is definitely something that's fantastic and something that I didn't really see coming. But without a shadow of a doubt, I wouldn't change it. And it is definitely something I would recommend to everyone out there. There are so many reasons why becoming a primary school teacher is a good thing. Now, it is a tough job. I'm not going to take away from that. It really is a tough job. However, it is at the same time very, very rewarding. So that brings us to the end of the video. And if you're still here watching the video, then congratulations. Feel free to subscribe down in the corner if you're new, and if you hit the notification bell, you'll be alerted when I post. If you like the video, obviously smash the like button, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. But for now, I'm out.